excited about tonight. Thank you for joining on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. We are using more than one streaming platform right now. So if you see me not looking at you or Chandel not looking at you, it's because we are talking to different cameras. So until Facebook and Instagram merge their streaming services, we're gonna do it this way. Thank you everyone for joining. Super excited about tonight. We have the amazing Chandel Shand. Chandel is one of my social media friends that I found, and I'm gonna just pull up her short bio. But in sum, Chandel is definitely a digital marketing guru. She's really fantastic in this industry. She is currently the community manager at the Branding Bar, and she helps clients with personal development, and she is a mental health advocate. She's an author, a speaker, and entrepreneur. And with that, I'm super excited to talk today to Chandel. So thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. I love how you sum it up so well.
Of course, today's gonna be really great. And guys, just let us know if you hear any feedback, if there's an echo. We are kind of bootlegging it right now to bring this conversation across multiple platforms. So please let us know. But thanks for tuning in. Okay. Also, one other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put my phone on do not disturb because I just got a call from a senator of New Jersey, apparently.
Yeah, I thought it was my phone. I was about to, something popped up for me. Mine's on do not disturb. It's okay. Live streaming, these things happen. You got to make sure do not disturb. You got to make sure the lights are on, you know, everything. So growing pains of live streams.
We are doing it live, everyone. Okay. So Chandel, how, like, maybe we should tell them first how we even connected. Do you remember how we connected?
Yes, I do. I do a lot of networking online. So, you know, I like to take notice of how I connect with certain people and where actually our relationship goes with business, friendship, all those things. And how we connected was I was doing some work with the founder of the Branding Bar running a virtual event, and you were one of the guest speakers as an expert. So I was actually the person doing a lot of the back end, emailing you, making sure you were good to go on stage. And then, of course, making sure the event went as virtually well as it could. And we just followed each other on Instagram and continued to connect. And I know I needed some resources to build a newsletter, and I figured you give such good tips on your Instagram reels that I would have to reach out and say, we need those trademark tips. Can we shout you out in your newsletter? So it was just a continuous evolution of this relationship.
And that's how it works. I mean, like there's a saying or a statistic that it takes 8 points of contact to make a sale. And in the digital world, I think it takes 8 points of contact to build a relationship. And so whether that's you following someone online, liking their stuff is another point of contact. Commenting, engaging, maybe you're DMing them to thank them for putting on such like an awesome piece of content or a show. So that's literally how it works in this digital environment.
Yeah, the impression that you make in a DM. I had a mentor of mine that always says it goes down in the DM, and then as soon as it goes down in the DM, afterwards, that's where the doors open up. You know, a lot of people talk about closing clients, but the way I look at closing clients is it's actually opening them up to what it is that you're then helping them with. So I look at a close as more of an open, but I know that it goes down in the DM. So the shares, the comments, all of those things are good for points of contact, but be very careful with what we're saying in the DM because that relationship can continue. And it's great to go back and see how it evolved and what you've been talking about for the last year. I mean, I'm signing a contract tonight for somebody that has known me on Instagram for about 4 or 5 years and seen the whole evolution of my business. And we've had hundreds of conversations. And so it's just interesting that now today they're signing a contract, and it's because of how we have had a relationship through the Instagram DM for the last 4 or 5 years.
That's literally how it works, guys. This is how it's been done pre-COVID, but now with COVID, I mean, we're stuck at home and you have to pivot. You have to figure out how to continue to grow, whether it's building your network and your contact base or staying in touch with current contacts, current clients. Yeah. Taking advantage of social media is not industry specific. Yes, I'm a lawyer, and a lot of people on here tonight are attorneys, but this is really critical. We are in 2021, in the middle of a global pandemic where it's difficult to network in person. I mean, even post-COVID, I think that this digital way of networking and building relationships is going to continue. I mean, it's not like it's going to happen overnight where everyone's going to rush to go back to like 1,000-person events. There's going to be a mix of digital and in-person for sure. So you might as well get ahead of the game now and start adopting these platforms. I mean, LinkedIn has been used by lawyers for a while, but like now people are posting TikToks and becoming like way more engaged in it. So,
yeah, I see lawyers and real estate agents doing a lot with TikTok and Reels, which is good to see because sometimes lawyer pages and real estate pages, not to put them in a box, but sometimes they can be a little bit boring. You know, not all the time we want to see just like this post of a house or, you know, like legalese can be very much so intimidating for somebody that knows nothing about the legal world, right? And those are your clients, the people that know nothing about the legal world. So it's really in the content that you're putting out, recognizing treat these people as if they're elementary school people. That's the way I look at it. If I know nothing about the legal field, and that's why I love your reels. If I know nothing about the legal field, I'm right. I love your reels. They're so informative and they just make a lot of sense. And right now reels get the most visibility, right? And so I think what you're doing with giving out the tips, really breaking it down for the average person, they're able to be much more clear on what it is that you do, how you can help them. And then even in the meantime, even if they're not investing their money with you, at least they're being educated enough so that when they do make the decision, the contract is so much more seamless. You know, it's literally like today I received the messages like, here's my money. And then as we're talking, I have another contract that just came down and it's like, here's my money. You know, and obviously it's not all about money, but we want this social media networking that we're doing to convert to coins.
Totally. Did you see the Branding Bars post today? I don't know if you have any like thing to do with that. The one that was like, if you haven't gone live,
post like 10, 12, 15 things sometimes a day.
I know. She's amazing. But I like the one where it said like, if you haven't gone live yet, like, what are you doing? People don't know you.
Yes, we both kind of had a hand in that post, Brittany and I, and we loved it because a lot of the time, and specifically her brand actually speaks a lot of life into entrepreneurs. They kind of need to hear those things. So we noticed that, you know, sometimes people do want that kind of kick in the ass, you know, for a lack of better words. And sometimes us as entrepreneurs kind of need those reminders that, you know, the reason why you're not converting to sales is because you're not going on live. The reason you're not converting sales is because you're not posting content, those type of things. So we wanted to give a friendly reminder, and I love that everybody enjoyed it. Everybody enjoyed it. And I think there's a challenge now of so many people wanting to go on Instagram Live. When we posted that, I said, you know what? The most amount of conversions have always came out of my Instagram Lives. I don't even really save them as often as I should. But 2020, 2019, Instagram Live, somebody's always asking you a question afterwards and they're curious. What is it that you do? How can you help me? So building that curiosity in Instagram Lives is fantastic. Even if 7 people are watching, you have 3 people that just messaged you, and you only need 3 people to message you.
Okay. Well, I loved it. I loved it too because I do a lot of lives, and I couldn't articulate the reason why I thought they were beneficial, and that post really did it for me because there is no script, right? Like, I'm not reading from a script. you saw the list of questions. It's like 10 bullets. And people are getting to see what you're really like and your personality. But not only that, like, people need to realize, like, Instagram isn't just, it used to be more of an art gallery, right? Like, it used to be all about images and like having the cool, perfect photo. But now a lot of people are reproducing video. And with video, you're able to show who you are to your viewers. And Shondell, I literally had a client call me and they're like, yeah, we're super interested in hiring you. Here's all the, here's the situation. We want you to represent a upcoming artist, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know if you know anything about me, but, and he cut me short. He was like, oh, we know everything about you. You went to Cardozo Law School. You do work in the entertainment industry. You work at fashion companies. You live in New Jersey. I was like, really?
That'll happen. And I love that you mentioned that, because that was a lot of what we wanted to talk about tonight was, you know, having that profile that is out there, whether it's Instagram, a YouTube, a LinkedIn, an online resume is how I like to put it. Having that work for you, because people are Googling you. People are seeing if there's something that will come up on Google about you, right? People know who they want to work with before they hire them. That's the reality. Nobody, as you said, you know, sometimes it takes those 8 touch points for people to want to buy. So people don't just see something and like take one of us off the shelf as there's my lawyer, there's my real estate agent, there's my digital marketer. When it comes to the online space, people are very invested with, like, I'll use the word creep, like people that want to hire you, want to work with you, love what you do, or are really interested in seeing how you could work in the future, or maybe somebody that you could benefit in their network. You know, maybe they're not looking for a lawyer, but one of their friends or their auntie is, then you are now available to that person just by simply having a very clean profile where people will really understand who you help and what you do. You know, celebrating wins and social proof and putting out as much value as you do is a fantastic way. But we are all literally one search away. Like, we're all internet creepers. So we can figure out what people like for breakfast type of thing before we even hire them. It's the weirdest thing ever. But that's how the internet is.
Shondell, literally, like, even before we did this live, I was like, okay, I think she's really cool, but I need to see what she's like on video. Like, I didn't want to just do a live with anyone. Like, I needed to make sure. And but I went to your lives and I saw, and I'm like, okay, she's normal. She has
you guys admitted to creeping me too, so that's fine. It's literally the normal check. You got to get the normal check. And it's completely okay to be weird too, because I have that side of me. That's like my dominant side is weird, to be honest. But on these lives, we got to show the cool, professional, smooth side of ourselves. And I mean, it really just depends on what your brand is, right? Like, if your brand is crazy, then that's what your brand is, you know, and represent that in your lives and things like that, and don't hold back. But definitely, you know, that's what I'm saying is, like, you want to be able to represent yourself on social, whatever you have plastered there. You want to be able to represent yourself there, as well as when you get in real human life form contact off of a feed. You want to be able to still have that little bit of, you know, pizzazz while you're talking to somebody. I wouldn't be able to come here on the live with you and basically be like, yeah, I'm so happy to be here. I know a lot of stuff.
And then I would be like, okay, we're gonna cut this short. But I already knew, like, I knew from your videos. Yep. Says something.
Exactly. So literally show up.
What's interesting is there's so many people I talk to that, like, just, they're like, I'm camera shy, I'm not good at video. I mean, but is anyone good in video? Like,
that's a good point, because it brings me to think about, we all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses. A lot of people have taken 1,000,001 personality tests to figure out what their strengths and weaknesses are and things like that. I personally don't like video. I love to talk. I love to do events and being in the front of the room and things like that, making sure everybody's having a good time. But I actually don't even like video. But I do video because I understand that what brings me revenue when I need to do a live, or when that's in my strategy to produce more, prospects, clients, referrals, all of those things, then I will go live. You know what I mean? I always use the reference, like if we worked at like a call center, collecting like credit card debt for like Bank of America. If you went to that call center, you would have to continue to call people. That's how you get paid. So if it was over video and that's how you get paid, or Bank America is going to fire you, you would have to do these videos. You'd have to do these videos, say, hey, pay your credit card debt, pay your credit card debt, pay your credit card debt. But if you don't, and we can often do that for people like Bank of America. But when it comes to talking about ourselves and our own brand, then people kind of go into this shell and they think like, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow, or I'll get around to it next week. But the reality is, if you want this to produce income for you, then that's not gonna happen, right? And that's just the reality of it. So I always tell people, like, almost act like you're that call center person. And it's not to make these sales calls or to collect debt through video, but think about it in the aspect of, if you weren't doing it for Bank of America, you wouldn't have a job. They would have fired you and you would be, out of a job, no coins to collect. So just look at it from a perspective of, if you do the work, you get paid. And so do the work so that you can get paid, and really just promote yourself. Nobody anymore cares about that whole, they're bragging. That's not a thing anymore. Lamborghinis and being like, this is mine. So don't worry about promoting your like candle business, your real estate business, whatever business it is, especially when it comes to lawyers. Like, that should be something that people are so proud of as a lawyer. There's so much, academic achievement in that. So I think having a video live hold you back from showing those expertise. Oh no, if I was a lawyer, I would be dropping that on everybody.
Yeah, and there's so many different styles. I mean, everyone has their own unique personality, right? There's no one way to do something. So, like, clearly my videos and my content are going to be so different from the videos and content of maybe like a senior partner at a huge law firm, and that's okay.
That's okay. It's completely
But expressing your personality and getting it out, right, is important.
And even if you're completely against video, like you don't see yourself doing it ever, for the people that are going to listen to this and are like, I'm not sold on, Chandel or Francesca telling me I got to get off my butt and, slick back my hair and do a video. So for those people, literally consider a podcast, consider doing a YouTube. But and instead of showing your face, which you think like it's a YouTube, you have to show your face. No, like do more workshop style trainings where it's almost like a webinar slide. Make it 5 minutes if you don't want to put in the time to a 20-minute workshop. Within those 5 minutes, if you can give value, create 5 slides on Canva, record it, and put it on YouTube, you're now building this workshop style YouTube. And you don't have to show your face, but you can still give the value through a workshop. You can actually do workshops on Instagram Live, I believe. I'm not sure if you have to show your face. I think you can pull up slides too.
That's cool.
I haven't personally done it, but I've seen some people do it. But there's so many different ways to be able to, think about it. Even Clubhouse. If you hate Instagram, you don't want to do video, at least have 1 video circulating or 2 so people can know you. Know the personality. Like, I'm not letting anybody get out of 1 or 2 videos, you know what I mean? And that's just the reality. But use Clubhouse. Clubhouse has the most massive amounts of growth right now when it comes to showing up on stage and speaking through those audio rooms. You will literally, if you speak on stage, you will literally gain anywhere between 15 to 100 followers within the day. And that's on a low level. Like, some people are gaining hundreds a day, but of course they're investing the time. I haven't invested that much time into Clubhouse, and I'm almost at 1,000 followers. And the reality of those followers are, I had to stop spending time on Clubhouse because of my level of networking. I was already able to be very intentional with what I wanted to pull out of Clubhouse. And so I really have no purpose of Clubhouse right now, unless I want to be following.
You just hit, and I don't want to cut you off because I want to take this, this point. because this is what the entire discussion is about, right?
Yeah.
About how to be strategic and use, and not just the purpose. What you were implying is that the purpose isn't just to get hundreds of thousands of followers a day. That's not the goal.
Yeah.
The goal is to create real relationships. So
Exactly.
for you, you hit a point where it was, okay, stop, and I'm going to focus on these people.
Exactly.
And Chantel, can you tell us a little bit about how you've been using social media, and what are the objectives? Tell us about specifically the objectives of gaining followers and how you use those new followers to convert into actual relationships and ultimately end clients.
Yeah, it's a very good question. So the way I look at my Instagram following and generally any platform that I have, I focus on Instagram, Facebook, and Clubhouse at the moment. And through those platforms, I have people that I consider, customers. I have people that I consider, of course, family and friends because they're on there. And then I don't want to use the word fans, but let's just call them audience, but also fans. Those are the people that are going to refer you. They might not buy from you, but they will be the first to repost you, share everything that it is that you have. And those like fans or audience members are the people that you also want to build relationships with. It's not like we put them to the side because they've never bought a $10 ebook from us or signed a $1,000 contract. We treat those relationships just as valuable as somebody that signs the $1,000 contract. Why? Because that person can send me another $1,000 contract, or they're going to promote me for free. So that's just extra visibility. So that's fans and audience. And then I look at, of course, customers, right? So I treat them in 3 different categories so that I know who I'm talking to. You can kind of put them in a certain category. Of course, your fan or your audience member could become a customer. But for the most part, people when they're not trying to spend their money. But my whole thing is promoting myself, creating curiosity around anything that I have to put out. So curiosity, creating momentum, that's within my content, within my Instagram story posts, all of those good things. And then when it comes to the networking side and how do I identify those people, or how do they find me, I should say, because a lot of the time I actually want them to find me. I don't want to be going out to look for people. I want people to come to me because they're very warm. They want to speak to me, right? So how I do that on Clubhouse, I actually schedule a room. Whether I do that room or not, I actually reach out to people on Clubhouse through, I think that you could do, I don't know if it's like a hashtag or you just type in the word. I think you just search the keyword. But at a time I wanted to do a room on mental health, for example. So I searched mental health. And a woman came up, a couple of people came up, and a woman stood out to me. So I simply DM'd her. She ended up being a TED Talk speaker, mental health expert, all of the above. I actually never ended up hosting that room that I had scheduled because I had connected with somebody that was like, hey, I'm open to doing this room with you, but I would prefer to do have you on my show. And I'm like, sure, I'll be on your show. So it's just networking intentionally. I wanted to network with somebody that was in the world of mental health. I slid in their DM and, of course, just introduced myself, congratulated them on their TED Talk because people love to receive congratulations. So if anybody's sitting here thinking like, how do I open a conversation with somebody? It's so awkward. Definitely congratulate them on something. People always celebrate things in their feed. So you can see if somebody just had a baby, or if they just bought a new car, they bought a new house, they graduated, they're rebranding their business, like they just opened a business. Like there's so many ways to congratulate people and just recognize them for their accomplishments. And everybody automatically feels warm about that. They're like, oh, Francesca's so nice. She just congratulated me.
Yeah,
that's their idea. I don't know her, but she's my best friend. Yeah. You're like, keep on telling me nice things, Francesca. So like leading with compliments, but not like the cheesy comment like, oh, you have a dog. I have a dog too. So cool. You want yes, yeah. So it's just like having a real conversation. Like if you were at a party or if you were at a networking event, Like, how would you actually go and speak to that person? Literally. Because half of the comments that we leave and half of the DMs that some people send, you would never walk up to a person and do that. Never say half of the things that you
Can I give you an example of one I got?
Yeah.
Like on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is the worst ones.
LinkedIn is the worst.
The worst one.
Because like these are actually like not like people I would want to connect with. And I actually told one, so it was a law student, and I actually told him, I was like, I'm happy to connect with you, but this was a really terrible way to write to me. Yeah. So like he just reached out and said something along the lines of like thank you, if you have a minute and you would like to add me to your network. I think we share mutual interests. He never said what mutual interest. It was basically like a very generic one that he just copied and pasted and sent to other people, you could tell. And so I actually wrote back to him and I was like, I would love to connect with you, but you got to change up this approach. Like you're just spamming people at this point. Like take a minute to check out my bio. If we really do have an interest, it's that shared interest, say it, you know? That's a great starting point. Or just, request me and say something nice or something that you're interested in learning about. Exactly. That's a great starting point. You're not, doesn't cost any money for me to accept. Like I don't need to be sold on why to accept you or not. So just if there's a valid reason, send it.
Even recently, actually, I was, once again, networking with people. This was actually on Instagram, but I do think it came from Clubhouse. Sometimes we'd be clicking the profiles and just follow each other. They ended up working for a pretty prominent magazine, which is quite interesting, and I love to write. So they're a consultant as well. So we ended up exchanging some DMs, just really casually, supporting their webinar that they had put up and things like that. I actually attended. And I wanted to ask them a question, but I know that they do consultations. So I say this to say in the DM, sometimes you have to know what approach to take. As much as we want to like go after it at the very moment kind of thing, like whether it's a sale or, hey, can you do this for me? Or I would love to collaborate or whatever it is, you kind of have to warm up to that. So for example, I was like, I have a question that I wanted to ask you. Would you prefer me to book a consultation? Right. And so it's just like having a little bit of respect in the DMs too. Yeah. Really remember that. And right away that person said, wow, I don't think I've ever been asked that. Nobody's offered to book and pay for a consultation. And I was like, gotta respect the consultation game. But more or less, it's just having respect in general for somebody that has expertise and is willing to share their time with you, even if it's just one question. Sometimes that one question people charge $500 for. And if you don't pay that $500, you don't get the answer to that question. And that's fair because they have put in the work to be able to charge that price. So it was a really cool exchange. And they actually came back and were like, hey, I have so many opportunities that I think of that can be good for you. What's your website? And I actually currently am remodeling my website. So I just told them I could send you my PDF or my one sheet. Like you said, you asked me, hey, Chandel, do you have a headshot? I have a folder set up of headshots. So I send it right to you. That just, you can speak from experience. I don't know how many people sent you a folder of headshots when you ask them for headshots. So exactly. So doing those little things with your brand, like having speaker photos that are approved by you for people to choose from and use when they say, hey, do you want to collaborate? Yeah, sure. Here's my form for collaborations, right? I didn't send it to you because we've already been shooting the stuff in the DM.
Oh, that's great.
But you have a form for collaborations. You have a folder for pictures to just send it off, and that's a good first impression.
Can we talk? Because we just jumped right in, and these tips, Chandel, are fantastic. I'm pretty sure people are writing down stuff like
hopefully
those 3 categories of people. This is huge, and it's also why I love talking to you and people like you, because I get to learn, and it's just really super informational. But I think we need to take a step back and. For people who don't even have a footprint, right? So for the people who have personal accounts, and there was a question in here, people who have personal accounts but maybe haven't taken the leap to do a professional account or a side hustle account, how can they go about building the foundation to then reap those benefits and passively generate leads and opportunities without spending an insane amount of time online?
Yeah. So understanding your weak points and your strong points, of course, of, are you capable of putting up Instagram stories? Are you capable of creating content for your feed? Even though I'm a digital marketer, I actually dislike graphic design very much so. So I know my expertise are in strategy and things like that. So for people that don't have any content to put out as a foundation, there's actually lots of services that you could get, like subscription-based content. So it'll produce 10 pieces of content a month, 20 pieces of content a month, 40 pieces of content a month. So you actually don't have to do it yourself. So allow yourself to outsource that so that the result you get can be great, and you can start loading those up. Another thing that I would say helped me when I didn't have a footprint at all would be hosting my own events, whether that was, at the time it wasn't virtual because of pre-COVID. So I rented out a condo room and hosted my first event. I rented out an art gallery and hosted my own event. Of course, this is when we could have events. So I started building my own authority because I had nobody to really co-sign me getting into business. I never planned on being a business owner.
I hate cutting people off, so I'm not cutting you off because everything you're saying is amazing. I want to ask you a question and highlight it.
Yeah.
Something I found is I didn't want to wait to get asked to speak on a podcast, to speak on an event. Like those opportunities were small, but then not only that, I had to seek them out. So can you just talk a little bit about like the power that and autonomy? There's another word I'm thinking of. Just the freedom of being able to say, okay, I'm doing my own event. I'm renting at a condo. Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, because that for me would have been the best thing that I could have done to establish my footprint was not waiting for anybody's permission and was saying, okay, how much is it going to be for me to rent out my condo room and put this together? Can I get some people to help me that are going to do it for free? Like, I have friends. Are you not going to help me, put this thing together that I want to do? And then on top of that, as you mentioned, podcasts, you don't even have to wait for people to reach out to you for podcasts. You can actually do outreach to get on people's podcasts as well. But how you get on people's podcasts is if you were to go search hashtag podcast, hashtag lawyer podcast, whatever you can find through specific hashtags or specific keywords, you can actually now go build relationships with those people that have podcasts, so that if you have 100 new followers that all have podcasts, you most likely are going to be able to get on more podcasts because you've now intentionally networked to make sure that you can make a footprint to say, I'm getting on 5 podcasts this year. I'm going to collaborate with 5 people on Instagram Live this year. All of those things. I'm going to do 1 virtual event for the year, and it's going to be me hosting. And I'm going to get a couple of guest speakers or whatever it is that you want to do. It could even be a masterclass, but I would suggest don't wait for permission from anybody to start doing your own things. I know imposter syndrome is a thing, but don't wait for permission from anybody to start doing the thing, because had I done that, and I'll give you a good example. I love that you brought this up. Before I had any credibility in business, and I simply had just created a vision of what I wanted to work for myself, what time I wanted to wake up and things like that, I actually was like, okay, this is cool. My vision came to life. Maybe I should have a vision board event. And I had a first vision board event, and a lot of women showed up. It was great. I ended up running that again the next year because people were like, when's the vision board happening? Right? What is the vision board event? And I'm thinking like, I'm like, I didn't know people are like actually really care about vision board events because they sound so generic. Like, you know what I mean? Like cliche, like, yeah, you do a vision board, but everybody loved it and they wanted me to do it again. So I did it again. And then the third year in the row, would have been COVID, so I wasn't able to have the virtual event. But what happened was Rolling Out, which is a prominent platform. It's like Rolling Out magazine, Rolling Out. They were able to actually onboard me as a speaker because they were looking for somebody that wanted to do, I think it was like design your vision or a vision board experience or something. And somebody had mentioned me in a room. This is like an American-based thing. I'm Canadian. So it's really important, you know, what people know you for so that they can mention you in the rooms that you're not in. And I'm eternally grateful for Jackie Clark for doing that for me. But she said, I know somebody that runs vision board events. They could create an experience for you. And just, I thought I was canceling it for the year. And I was able to tell my network, hey, this is what we're doing this year. Just tune into the virtual event that Rolling Out has. And it was really impressive. I was really excited about it. So I'm happy that I was able to do that.
And one of the words I use to describe you is an entrepreneur. I mean, it's a super broad word, but it's a word that not many lawyers and I think professionals use. And it's like everyone should be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Be your own branding, publicity person, like be an entrepreneur, be creative, forge the next path of the future. I mean, can you talk a little bit about like that and how I just feel like your spirit is entrepreneur. Like no matter what you do, it's creating and then conceiving and executing. That's
literally like the 3 words that could sum me up in terms of what I do. So I feel like as an entrepreneur, and I love what you said about, you know, the more professional world in terms of academics and things, don't really see themselves as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Really what it is I want to call it a personal brand for most people. Even if you have a product-based business, a service-based business, people buy from people. And so with that being said, your personal brand matters, whether you consider yourself an entrepreneur, a professional, a doctor, whatever it is on whatever level. You know, knowing what your core principles and your core values are as a personal brand will go so far. So even if you don't consider yourself a personal brand or an entrepreneur, you really have to think like an entrepreneur right now, whether you want to consider yourself one or not, because I'll tell you, us entrepreneurs are coming for our spots. And I think in this generation, even though lawyers definitely need a degree to practice, of course, with the bar, but so many positions now are getting filled by people that don't have degrees. And it's because their spirit and their communication and their execution and their creativity is at an all-time high. And you know, we see the lack of the labor jobs are a little bit, I won't want to say less important, but people are more so looking for people that can have this up here and then be able to do all the things. So I think anybody can learn from somebody that has an entrepreneur mindset, because we're very go, go, go. And I don't want to use the word hustle because I think a lot of us eventually steer away from the hustle entrepreneur mindset. And we try and figure out, okay, what's going to work for us as real entrepreneurs, real business owners, the stability that we need and things like that. So although professionals don't have to think about things like stability when it comes to their academics because they're already in their field, I think the personal branding side of things, everybody should consider when it comes to being in any realm of you want to put yourself out there. Me having a personal brand has been able to get me so many opportunities. And it really wasn't about me doing anything for those people. It was just them seeing me do things for other people. So you never know who's watching, really. And you want to be able to represent yourself as that personal brand, even if you don't consider yourself an entrepreneur, because it will allow you to be more visible to more people, quite honestly.
I got really emotional when you were talking, just because it made me think about my own path on this.
Yeah.
So I worked for other people up until September of this year. I never, you know, I worked for other people's clients. I really didn't have my own client base. I had a couple clients here or there, but then like making that jump to becoming a partner and just, okay, like we're starting from nothing. Let's go.
Mm.
And now it's almost March 2021. I think like having this conversation with you, this is probably like my 10th live or something.
You've been doing a lot. Yeah.
And but exactly like you said, like I didn't wait for anyone. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to be out there. I had so much to talk about and I wanted to interview people and like connect with people. So I just did it. And I'm doing it and it's been great. And I'm so whoever's listening, like if you have an idea, just try it.
You gotta try.
The worst thing, right, that could happen is someone like says something and makes a comment that hurts your feelings, but who cares?
Who cares? Yeah, definitely.
Like,
Definitely. No, I commend you for doing the Instagram lives that you've been doing. Everybody knows I've been taking a little bit of a back seat. So it's interesting to watch it from a back seat because I'm so involved always, posting stories 24/7 and things. So it's interesting to watch. I want to call it like the rat race from the back seat because you see everyone go live, you see everybody posting, you see people
comparing yourself, right?
selling, huh?
It's like you get like anxiety and like you're like, oh, should I be doing this? Should I be doing this?
Nuts. It's
Chantel,
nuts
can I tell you what I've been doing?
Yeah.
I literally like I got blinders.
Yeah, you did good.
I really got blinders. I don't care. It's taking me a lot not to curse, so, but I'm not going to.
No, that's okay. It's your platform. My audience is a-okay with it. But your friends.
Call. I got blinders, and I care what other people do, but like I'm like, oh, that's an awesome idea. Like, let me integrate that. But there's times where I do get overwhelmed where I'm like, oh my God, should I be doing this every time? Should I be posting videos? But I want you to tell us a little bit about your experience with taking a break, because for me, I realized like there's my own way I'm gonna do this. I've seen how everyone else is doing it. There's not one way to do it, and like I'm just gonna stick to one live a week to the extent that I can. If I can't do it a week, it's not the end of the world. And it's been working well because I don't have anxiety. Like if I miss a week, you know what? It's not the end of the world because I'm not trying to beat anyone. I'm just trying to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm comparing to myself. So can you tell us a little bit about like your break and what that actually has resulted in?
Yeah. When I first took my break, I actually thought I would probably spend a lot of time maybe producing new content. And I realized that taking a break from social and I would say my own social media, because I do have access to other pages for my clients. But I took a break from my own social media and I thought, why would I take a break from my social media? And then with my time on my break, I would be creating more social media content to just go back on social media.
So you're like on that.
I was like, okay, Chanel, it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. So I figured I wouldn't make the content and I would literally do nothing with my social media for, I think it was about a week or two. And then I posted something on my story and I decided to use the time to get to know my audience that I already currently had because I felt like I hadn't interacted with them in the way that I had in the last month. You know, I haven't asked them how are they doing, people that I've spoken to for the last year that have been following me for 2 years. I haven't put up, you know, what are you currently struggling with in my Instagram story and actually been able to sit there and answer like 10 questions. And so with my time off, I just used it instead of to create more content. I used it to think about what content I want to be putting out for sure. I know the direction I want to go, but to engage and to interact with the people that had already committed to following me. And it was amazing. A lot of people were so thrilled to have conversations. They told me things that I probably wouldn't have heard if I hadn't opened the conversation. So opening conversations is so key to this. But yeah, I think that's what I did on my break is I opened a lot of conversations. But because I had that the page, right, whether it was Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, that could set me up for success, for people to still want to book consultations, or for people to just send me a DM and say, hey, Chandel, can you tell me what it is exactly that you do so that I can hire you? They don't even really care how I can help them. They just want to hire me in whatever capacity that I can help them almost.
I love that.
because of how invested they have
work
been.
with you.
Yeah, exactly. And just their interaction. There's a level of trust and there's a level of likability. And mind you, not everybody's going to like you and not everybody's going to trust you. And that is perfectly fine. But the people that I was engaging with, they had great experiences within the last 2 months. I learned a lot about the people that were following me. I learned what I needed to be doing in my business when I show back up for them. I was able to learn. I was able to open conversations, learn, engage with the audience that I already had. Because the way we look at it is like, oh, we're like, oh, 5,000 followers, big deal. Somebody else has 2 million. But if that was like a Costco or a Walmart or like a little clothing store, that's 5,000 people in your store at once, basically. That's insane. That's insane.
Can we talk about the difference between having hundreds of thousands of followers and having real, genuine people who you have relationships with, or it falls through categories? Like,
a lot of people have asked me, I've had somebody actually one time, and only one time, bluntly say, like, Chandel, how have you made money on Instagram? You only have 5,000 followers, right? I'm like, mind you, now it's at 6, but that's not the point. But she was like, you don't really have the followers. Like, how do you make money online? I'm like, well, I promote myself, I brand myself, I engage and I open conversations with my audience. I know what they want, and I solve a problem with whatever it is that I put out. I don't put out anything that doesn't solve a problem. So how did I make money online? Well, I mean, $30,000+ US doesn't just come into your bank account. It comes by promoting yourself and by understanding what you have is valuable. And if you can show that to, the 100 people that you have following you, then that's perfect. But if you can't show that to the 100 people, how are you going to show it to 5,000 people that you're looking to gain? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Chasing after those vanity metrics if you can't serve the first 100 people that have followed you anyways, right? So I hope I answered your question.
No, you totally did. And I just realized, like, for the people on here, we're streaming live in a couple different ways. So if I'm not looking at the camera. It's not, I'm ignoring Chandel. We're just trying to make this work. I love it because, like, I think it's applicable to lawyers and just anyone in general. Like you're saying, people want to hire you. Like you're getting asked to do work in any capacity. Like they're like, I like you, and what do you do? I'm so inspired by you. How can you help me?
Yeah, literally. And what I'll share is my sister-in-law, she has a staffing agency called The Staff Shop. And so she receives hundreds of resumes a day and a week, right? And I recently showed her a version of my resume. And I said, if I sent you this for this position, would you hire me? And she said, yeah, 9 out of 10. And then I'm like, okay, 9 out of 10. Like, where's the other one that could get me to 10. I want to know how I can be a 10. You mean you're a hiring, staffing agent. I want to know how I can be a 10. Like, what do I need to improve of? Or how, like in my interview, how can I basically get that extra point? And she said, your resume is perfect. The only reason I say 9 out of 10 is because, one, somebody always has more expertise than you. Somebody's always better than you at what it is that you are applying to, right? And then the other point is no one's perfect. So those are very fair points. So how do you get to 10 out of 10? You get to 10 out of 10 by being Chandel Shand. You get to 10 out of 10 by being yourself. That's the difference of somebody becoming 10 out of 10. You cannot give somebody a 9 out of 10 give somebody a 10 out of 10 out of just seeing their profile or their resume, even if it's perfect. But when I speak to Francesca, now I'm like, okay, 10 out of 10, that's my person.
I love that. And I think it ties all in. Oh my God, we could talk for
For
a while, Chantel.
I
I
know
want to
I'm like
talk
getting hot.
about,
We've been here for a while.
this is so good. I want to talk about automation
Yeah.
because I feel like a lot of lawyers and just people in general are not incentivized because they think that they see the people who are posting 6, 7 times a day and they think that that's what it takes to have these accounts. And
Mm,
I'll just give a quick personal anecdote for the
yeah.
people who are lawyers, and then Shondell, tell us like what has worked for you.
Yeah.
I just got started, and what I do is I try to post. I record in the morning if I can. At the end of the day, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a
Yeah.
content creator. My job is getting my work done. So I found at the beginning I tried to post 3 times a day. That's not realistic for me anymore. So I it varies, but I try to do as much as I can. But I'm okay. I'm not going to beat myself up if I don't. The other
Yeah.
thing is now by having these videos, I have sorry. I have a full TikTok of all of these important videos. So people can go through my library, and the algorithm on TikTok still pops up on
Yeah.
people's feeds.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing on TikTok. I'm sorry, same thing on Instagram with Reels. They're popping up, so people are still seeing the videos. And I don't know how, but I've noticed I'm still getting a ton of new followers every day, even though I don't post.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chandel, I'm going to mention one more thing and then tell us a little bit about like what you saw when you took a
Yeah.
break. I put Calendly and I think this is like amazing because it's really working. I put Calendly in my link in my bio, and I literally do nothing. I passively sit back and people schedule calls
Yeah.
with me, for me.
Yeah.
It immediately
Yeah.
goes into my calendar. I don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, what have you noticed, and what are some automated things that you do that has helped you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, for lawyers that don't want to post as frequently as 3 times a day and things like that, one thing I did for a recent client, and they're a contracting company. They do indoor renovations. So they don't really want to be on Instagram or anything like that. So to what capacity they can post is they want to post 2 to 3 times a week. That's 10
Okay.
pieces of content a month. So you now know, okay, if I only can wrap my brain around 2, maybe 3 times posting a week, then I just know that I need to have 10 pieces of content. You can actually produce 10 pieces of content in one day very easily, on like a Sunday, block the time out to be able to do that. And you have the whole of March now set up because you're not pressuring yourself into recreating content or doing anything else. You already have these 10 posts, you're going to put them out. That's what Instagram gets. Maybe you have 2 posts that you want to post on LinkedIn. And then also, if you don't want to post yourself, how can you further engage with other people's content? Maybe you could repost their content and things like that. If you don't feel like comments, anything, just stir up Instagram really as much as you can if you're not that person that likes to be putting out a lot of the content. Because a lot of the things too is lawyers can really be doing a lot of email campaigning, right? We all get a lot of emails. If we download something, we'll get the download, and then we'll get another
I do zero
email.
now.
Yes. Okay. Well, don't worry, Francesca. I got you. I got you after this. But email has helped my clients tremendously. For example, I was even looking at numbers the other day, and for example, just knowing that you can send out, like, I think the campaign said, oh, we sent out 297 emails, and it was like a day or two into the campaign. So I'm like, you've already sent, I'm talking to MailChimp here. I'm like, you've already sent 300 emails in like 24 hours. I'm like, who downloaded this thing, right? So I suggest people have some kind of freebie option, right? Some kind of free download, mini training, masterclass, free PDF, whatever it is. Even if you've already put that content out on your Instagram or you put it out on your TikTok, package it somehow differently so that people are now seeing that you have that to offer. They download it. When they download it, you now have the data. That data goes into a sequence, and people are getting hit every 24 hours with another message by you. Maybe one of those messages, they can get to know you. There's so many ways for the back end to be more automated, so that on the front end, it's not about having the pretty landing pages and, you know, having all of the best content on social media. It's when that person does give you their information, what are you doing with their information? You know, do you send them a newsletter once a month, or are they now in this sequence where you're trying to get them to do something? And so you can warm them up to do the thing. So by the end of the email sequence, they do the thing that you want them to do. So I recommend for lawyers in particular to start looking on what they can do on the back end of email automation, just because your clients want to hear from you. They want to trust you as your lawyer, you know? I would say email automation.
That's my next frontier.
How you said Calendly. And if you don't want to do email automation, get somebody else to do it, because I've written a lot of email automation sequences and it does take some time. So lawyers are not going to have the time to be doing the email automation. But, you know, they can create maybe that free video or something, or that. And the free video doesn't have to be 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It could be 5 minutes of 3 tips, you know, same stuff that we are already putting out, but we just do it differently. And I love Calendly. That was the first thing I used when I started realizing, hello, automation, get people to book. I currently use Equity scheduling because it does, I think, process payments a little bit better on Equity scheduling. So this is another option. You know, there's ConvertKit, which allows you to have a landing page. People can download whatever free giveaway thing that you have. You can collect their data. Another thing a lot of people are doing lately is the quizzes, the personalities, the surveys, you know? So if you can find a way to incorporate a quiz, you know, you can say, are you person 1, person 2, person 3? I want to find out if I'm person 1, person 2, or person 3. So I'm going to click your quiz just because we're these curious minds that want to play this little fun game with ourselves and find out more information about ourselves. So quizzes, if you're not into creating this huge freebie download right now, write a quiz, create different characters, 5 questions, send it off. And once you get that data, there goes your email sequence. So there's so many different ways to actually automate the process. I think we see so much of that beautiful landing page, that really valuable freebie, and we just feel so much pressure of like, we can't be on that automated route unless we have all of those glitz and glitter. But that's not true. It's not true at all. The back end emails actually do better looking like a regular email than all the branded emails that you usually receive anyways.
That's so interesting.
People just don't know that.
I love that. Oh my gosh, we're at the top of the hour already. This is wild. Chantel, I feel like we could talk about so much. But since we're gonna wrap up, can you give advice to people who either are just starting out on digital with their businesses, or are thinking about starting? What would your advice be to them?
My advice, and I'm not going to give the usual advice because everybody says get a mentor, so everybody already knows that. But if you are just starting out on the whole digital marketing world, I would recommend finding a couple of people that you admire in your industry and not copycatting them. But take that admiration and channel it into inspiration. How you can now, as you were saying, you know, how can you now kind of take this idea for yourself, but do it in a way that you're not, you know, of course, stealing somebody else's content or creative intellectual property. And so I found by finding some people that I'm like, I like how they dress. I like how they walk into a room. I like how they talk. I like how they put out their reels. I like how many times they post. Even though I'm currently not posting, I follow my favorite people when it comes to, you know, who I really like see myself almost as being able to be kind of thing. I have my notifications turned on. So every time they post, I know when they post. So I don't even create my own schedule for when I post. I have an idea of when they post, because if they're really successful with this, when I see them post, I could just share a post.
That's amazing.
And I use that as a trigger of like, I could be doing more. I see them go on Instagram Live 3 times a day. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. But I'm also like, okay, I noticed they go on live at 7, or I noticed that they go live every morning at 9 a.m., or I noticed they post at lunchtime. So you can now really see what their strategy is, quite honestly. And even if you don't follow it, at least you can now learn from it. And I hope to get up to that level. I really don't want to do 3 Instagram lives a day. But if it calls for it and it makes sense, then of course, why not? Right? I mean, there's a reason why they're doing that much Instagramming all day long. So it's admirable. Find somebody that you really admire and do your own thing with it. But that's a good way to start, to have some type of direction. And I would just remind people that, you know, success doesn't happen by luck. It happens by choice. And that's a fact.
Oh, yes. Oh my God, Chantal, you are fantastic. Again, I feel like we could talk all night.
We might have to do another 3 Instagram lives.
Yeah. Chantal, you are fantastic. Thank you so much for making the time. Thank you guys, everyone on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. This is definitely recorded. And I'm going to be rewatching this because I didn't get to take notes, but I'm definitely going to rewatch.
I take notes from myself too, so I'll probably go back and watch it myself. Sometimes I learn from myself when I speak. I don't know what's up here until it just starts blurting out, so I love these conversations.
No, it's so good. And thanks everyone for staying.
Yes.
And understanding that we're using the 2 different cameras here. Hopefully, but Chantal, have an awesome evening, and thank you again. Thanks, everyone.
You too. Thank you, everyone. Take care, Francesca.